Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. For today's video, I'm going to talk about a subject that I've been getting a lot of recent requests about. It has to do with some major news stories that apply to Giga Texas and some of the construction that is going on and planned construction in the future. And this hit the national airwaves. It was picked up by Reuters, some local news stations, also a variety of other smaller news channels publicized this as well, including some social media types that are really well-meaning. And it talked about 5 major projects, over $776 million worth of construction, and it's all going to begin here soon. And it's just wow and amazing, and people have been asking me, where's my take on it, where are these located, and what information can I provide? But my first question is this really what is happening here at Giga Texas? And I think it's time that we do a little bit of discussion on this. In fact, one of the comments that Elon Musk recently cautioned about, I think, is very applicable. And it says, be cautious about writing articles from unnamed sources. They may be frequently false. Also, the way you interpret some of the information that is used in these articles may be inaccurate. So sadly, I need to correct the record, but it's really not all that bad. So let's get ready to discuss in detail. A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. I think the best way to approach this topic is to first take a look at the Giga Texas property and all of the known major construction projects that are currently underway. You can see that with the map here on the right, and then a listing of each of these 6 major construction projects that we'll go into with a little bit of detail in just a second. Now, this does not include smaller projects such as the West Main entrance reconfiguration, receiving door expansion, some of the concrete apron work along the body in white and the General Assembly structure, and it's not going to talk about the assembly of the stamping machine structures in the Stamping 2 section on the south of the end of the main building. But we're going to talk about the certain areas that are particularly interested in for this discussion on this major news story. For those of you that would like to have more detail than what I will go into on this particular video discussion, I would recommend you take a look at my 25 November 2022 video, where I go into depth and detail on all of these major construction areas. The first major construction project that is in progress now is on the west side of the main highway that cuts through the middle going north to south of the Giga Texas property line. As you can see in the left-hand image, it's about 240 acres. We've been seeing a lot of clearing of ponds and hills and preparing a grade. It's also where they have the temporary expansion of the warehouse on wheels. And you can see the permit for this construction project filed with the City of Austin in the upper right-hand corner. The second major construction project currently underway at Giga Texas is the expansion of the main building on the south end. And you can see on the left-hand side image, this is showing how that foundation is being prepared. They're currently doing some reconfiguration with underground stormwater pipes, some utility systems. They've removed the concrete lot. They've been doing some test pier drilling, and they are also preparing to start construction on this site in the relatively near future. Now, I did cover this in extensive detail on my 3 January 2023 video, so I'd recommend, if you want to have a lot of the details, I would look at that particular video. Construction site number 3 is the new permanent electrical switchyard, which is being built just north of the temporary electrical switchyard. And this is also where the Megapack battery electric storage system will be built nearby. Now, this site has been under construction for several months. It's rapidly approaching the point where they will begin to connect electrical high-tension wires to the electrical switchyard, and soon we'll see this site operational, and then once it is completed, we should see the Megapack installation underway. The next area is number 4 for major construction here at Giga Texas. You can see where that's located on the map. This is the battery cathode plant. There's actually 3 new facilities that are under construction at this particular location, and that will be important for our later discussion. It's located just east of the old Martin Marietta concrete batch plant, and it's located about 1 mile or so from the main plant to the northeast. Construction area number 5 is a new one, and it is well north of Giga Texas. As you can see by the inset photo, the dotted line is the approximate location, as it's not 100% clear yet for this project where the construction will be underway. But based on the permit documents, and you can see one of them inset on the right-hand side, this is pretty close to where we should expect to see this north inbound lot and warehouse construction. Now, they've already completed soil test sampling in that south large open field, and we're also seeing quite a bit of materials starting to be stockpiled in that south end as well. So hopefully within the next, say, 3 to 6 months, we should see this particular construction site beginning. And the final area I will discuss is area number 6. This is northeast of the battery cathode construction site. And although this isn't specifically a construction project, there is quite a bit of activity with removing dirt, improving the grade, filling in ponds, reducing some of the hills. So it is possible that this may at some point in the future be a future construction site. But right now I'm keeping my eye on it because it is so close to the battery cathode plant. The next thing we need to discuss is some key terms and items that are needed to understand and put into context the documents that were cited in the recent news articles. Actually, over a year ago, on the 26th of November 2021, I actually covered some very similar subjects about these permits, the inspections, the TDLR accessibility barriers projects, and at that time, why was it so important? And the main reason is that Giga Texas was approaching the point where first production was about to begin. Now, in that video at that time, I talked a lot about who and what TDLR is, what their functions are in relation to the file documents that are very similar to the ones that we see today, and how this related to the initial production start at Giga Texas. Specifically, Giga Texas had 5 main areas that they needed to get approval for to begin the initial construction and to allow people to work in this area. Now, as you can see, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, which is TDLR, is responsible for licensing and regulating a broad range of operations. Primarily is to protect the health and safety of Texans who work in and around these particular facilities. Now, it's important to make a distinction that TDLR is not part of the initial construction building permitting process. That is what the City of Austin does, and you file permits through them to begin and to complete your construction projects. But TDLR is part of the Texas Architectural Barriers Inspection Program, and these inspections are required once construction has been completed, and they must occur prior to the first anniversary of the recorded project completion date. So what you see is actually a lag in the TDLR permitting and inspection processes up to a year after the structure is completed. And in many cases, that's what we are seeing right now with the major news story articles. And of course, TDLR will not schedule or perform the inspection until the construction project is actually completed. Although you can file, as we are seeing now, some preliminary information to get the process started. Now, in order to do these inspections, you need to have a construction project that is over $50,000, and it considers the total habitable or workable area inside the facility. And this is not just the building footprint area size, and that is what you see in the building permit documents. So in this case, if they are multiple floors or different parts of the building that people work in, they will count that as the habitable area. The inspections are conducted by a registered accessibility specialist, or RAS. Design professionals, or the people who are constructing the building, must submit plans and specifications to the RAS no later than the 20th day after plans have been issued for permit, and the code requires the RAS to be completed no later than the first anniversary after completion of the building project. So going back to my 26 November 2021 video, the reason why it was so important for these, at that time, 5 major projects, the general assembly, paint shop, body in white, stamping, and casting, was that these were the sections that minimally needed to be operational for production to begin. It should also be noted that at that time, the construction on these 5 main parts of the main factory had been under construction for more than a year and were at that time about ready for workers to begin working to start production. You can also see that they had talked about a combined total of $1.06 billion. So at this point you may be asking, what does this have to do with the major news now about the current 5 major projects and the $722 million that are going to be put into these projects? Frankly, it's everything, and it is exactly the same situation that we find ourselves in today and why the news articles are not exactly accurate. So let's take a look at the documents that the mainstream media and other sites used for these news articles. And here they are. They actually said that there were 5, but I've discovered 6 of them on the TDLR site. And they are for the die shop, cell test lab, cell 1, cathode, drive unit, and plastics. And these have links to each of these documents. They are here on the screen, and they are also available on the video description as well. So there's a couple of things that I want to point out when you compare the document from November 2021 and what we're seeing now in January 2023. The first thing is I know that some people on social media have been getting confused with the terminology used here as ground up and complete interior finish out of manufacturing facility. And they think that this means that this has to be a new project, when in fact it's just standard language, and it doesn't mean that a new project is underway. In fact, it means that a project is nearing completion or it is in the progress. Now, also note that the use of habitable workspace area definition to calculate the square feet shows that the building on the left has got multiple floors, and the building on the right has only got a single floor, and that will be important as we continue the discussion next. I want to use these 2 documents just to drive home the differences between a construction permit and what it provides that you get from the City of Austin and the architectural barriers, project details, and inspection document that you get from TDLR. The document on the left is from the City of Austin. It's the original document for the construction of the steel structure just west of the battery cathode plant that we see under construction today. And it's listed as 107,000 square feet. The document on the right is TDLR for the same building, and it also shows 107,400 square feet. It's essentially the same square footage because the building is listed as a single story. Now, if the building had multiple floors, the TDLR document would show more square footage than the document from the City of Austin. So now that you have all of this information in context, let's take a look at each of these projects and see what is actually going on now that we know that these are not new projects in the sense that they are already under construction or have neared completion. In this particular case, project number 1 is plastics. It is located on the north central section of the main building, as you can see with the arrow. It's actually got 2 floors. The first floor, as you can see by these documents, is outlined with that purple dashed line. It's got about 113,760 square feet. It does have a second floor. It's a partial floor. It's 61,200 square feet approximately, and that brings the total to approximately 174,960 square feet. And if you compare that to the listed document from TDLR, they match. So this project is actually a great sign, which means that the plastics manufacturing portion of the building is ready to enter full production. Project number 2 is listed as Cell 1, and it's listed as about 693,000 square feet. As you can see by the map, it's the northwest corner of the main building, and this extends up to 3 floors. There is a 4th floor, but it is not part of the battery manufacturing process, at least not currently. Here you see the individual floor maps. Floor number 1, which would be the ground floor, is about 419,900 square feet. Floor number 2 is a partial floor, and it's about 55,000 square feet, give or take. And then floor number 3 is a more completed but still partial floor with openings that extend down through the second floor to the ground floor. It's about 218,200 square feet. So this brings the total habitable or workable space to 693,100 square feet. And as you can see, this is a structure that is completed, and the fact that TDLR is now getting involved is a great sign, because this means that the 4680 battery cell portion of the factory is ready to begin full production. The next project is project number 3, or drive unit. As you can see in the TDLR document, it's about 423,000 square feet of workable or habitable space. And the image, you can see where this is located. Now, it was originally 2 sections, drive line and high bay. It has since been renamed drive unit. You can see by the approximate floor diagrams here, number 1, or the ground floor, is about 312,900 square feet. The second floor is a partial floor, and it's about 110,100 square feet, for a total of about 423,000 square feet. This entire section, by the way, is located just north of stamping 2, which is the southernmost portion in blue on image number 1. And this is where we see the AIDA stamping presses and other machinery being installed right now. The next project we'll look at is number 4, which is cathode. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the TDLR document listing it as approximately 321,000 square feet of habitable or workable space. And you can also see here the City of Austin's original permit for construction, and it was filed previously in 2022, with work beginning approximately June. Now, it is interesting that the building is not completed, but they have filed the TDLR. I believe that this means that Tesla is trying to get ahead of the game to accelerate the eventual production capability of this facility. Now, here's some interesting information that you might like to see about the battery cathode plant. And again, this is a future look of when it's completed. It's hypothetical based on information that I have, but it's about 1,100 feet long, or 333 meters, about 120 feet or 36 meters wide, about 90 feet tall, or about 27 meters tall. It is a steel column and beam construction with concrete wall panels. It has steel for the structure inside, insulated roof. I don't know if it will have solar panels or not, but based on some of the other things that we see around Giga Texas, it would not surprise me. It's got 2- and 3-story sections. That is why TDLR lists it as about 321,000 square feet, which is much larger than the basic footprint of the building. And it will have receiving docks, about 5 on the north and about the same number on the south end as well. And you can see with these inset architectural drawings just kind of how the structure was originally planned. Also, the bottom right shows you how they divide up in a kind of a grid pattern and zone pattern for this building. There's 3 main zones, and then from east to west, A through E, and then from north to south, 1 through 36. And then using that information, this is how the 3 floors appear inside approximately. Floor number 1, which is the ground floor, has got about 132,000 square feet. Floor number 2 is a partial floor with 2 large openings that go from the ground floor all the way up to the 3rd floor, and in some cases partially goes up to the ceiling. It's about 57,100 square feet. And then floor number 3 is almost contiguous, and it's about 132,000 square feet as well. And these are approximate, but it gives you a pretty good idea, for a total of about 321,100 square feet. Nearby is project number 5. It's listed as die shop in the TDLR document, and it's also listed as about 107,000 square feet. As you can see by this inset, this is the City of Austin original document for construction also shows 107,000 square feet. Now the name die shop is somewhat of an interesting term. I don't know exactly if that is the idea that this is where dies are made or if it's related to some of the battery cathode process. So this is something I'm going to have to monitor as developments warrant. But here's an interesting idea of what this building may look like. Also with the inset upper left, how it currently looks like with the steel structure rapidly taking shape. It's a single-story building, about 430 feet or 130 meters long, about 250 feet long, wide and about 76 meters wide, and about 70 feet or about 21 meters tall. So it's going to be a little bit shorter than the battery cathode plant, which is right next to it. It is also a steel column and beam construction, has a heavily reinforced section on the west bay where some extremely heavy equipment will most likely be installed. There's concrete wall panels that I expect, and it will look similar to the visualization that I've put up on the screen. It will have a steel and insulated roof, and it also may have solar panels, but I'm not sure about that yet. And it will likely have several receiving docks around the building, and I don't know what that's going to be looking like until we see it constructed. Now, as you see, it's got one floor. It's got two main bays, A and B. That orange place is where the heavily reinforced section of the foundation is located, where I would expect the heaviest of equipment. The floor is about 107,468 square feet for a total of the same, and both the TDLR and the City of Austin permits will match in this case because it's only got one floor. And the final project we will look at is project number 6, which is listed as Cell Test Lab in the TDLR documents. And this is very interesting because of its location and the fact that it's called a cell test lab. But as it was being constructed, we did notice quite a bit of very interesting and reinforced sections inside of the building, which would suggest that it is a lab of some sort. And also it's a very small building. As you can see by the inset photo, it's only about 2,560 square feet with one floor, and it's about 30 feet or 9 meters wide and about 85 feet or about 26 meters long. And this is also a steel structure that has got several layers of insulation based on what I saw during the construction. So it's a very interesting building, and what its actual purpose is hard to tell right now, but Cell Test Lab suggests that they will be doing some specialized testing of some of the cell materials in this particular facility. So there you have it. We've discussed the major news story about the 6 major projects and the way that they're going to look when they are completed, most likely. What does this mean for Giga Texas, and how the news story wasn't completely accurate in that this is not going to be completely new projects that we're going to see that we don't see on the site right now. But at the same time, it's very exciting because this means that all of these projects are in a state that some of which are very close to, if not already, ready for full-scale production of their particular parts, particularly the plastics, the 4680 cell, and the drive unit. And then the others looks like Tesla is trying to get ahead of the game and preparing for these inspections from TDLR at some point in the future to try to expedite the process so that they can start production as quickly as possible. So we talked about a lot of different subjects. We also talked about some exciting projects that weren't included in the major news story that I am excited about seeing. And I hope that all of this was helpful and helped put into context what the news articles were attempting to say. And even though it wasn't this great new thing about all of these huge new projects that are on the horizon, it is very important for Giga Texas for these projects to be nearing completion, and also for what they provide to the production capability of Giga Texas. I hope that you found this information and discussion helpful, and I do appreciate all your support. Thank you.